From making a comeback after tripping over the first 2 hurdles to smashing through the world record twice in one day. These are 3 of the most intense moments of women's hurdles, starting with the time Kendra Harrison beat the world record and had no idea. 2 weeks before this race, Kendra had failed to qualify for the US Olympic team after coming in 6th place at the qualifiers.
Kendra in lane 2. She's not even close. Brianna Rollins wins it with the time of 12.34. Kendra finishes 6th with the time of 12.62.
It was surprising given that at the time Kendra's personal best was 12.24, the second fastest time ever run, closely behind the world record of 12.21, set 28 years earlier in 1988. Kendra was back for revenge 2 weeks later at the Diamond League in London. She was up against the 3 Americans that had beaten her 2 weeks prior, so she was going out there with something to prove. Kendra told USA Today, "Not making the Olympic team, I was really upset. I was coming out here with just vengeance to show these girls what I have." And that she did.
Another really good start from Kenny Harrison, 4th from left. She was already in the lead. Talai's going well, 3rd from right there. Oh, there's been a fall there. I think it was Stowers. But look at Kenny Harrison storming away with this, and look at the margin of victory. Watch the clock. 12.58 there for Kenny Harrison.
But her time wasn't as good as it could have been. It was only barely better than her time 2 weeks prior.
Well, that was strange. The clock seemed to run on and on long after she'd gone through the line. I'd rather fancy it was quicker.
Kendra had ducked under the timing beam as she crossed the finish line, and the clock hadn't stopped until the second runner crossed the line. Kendra's time was faster than 12.58. Much faster. When the officials reviewed the time, the figures on the screen reset.
12.20 and the world record has gone. The trackside clock shows 12.20. She's just seen the news and the world record has gone.
She broke the women's record that had stood for 28 years. But her record didn't last as long, as just 6 years later in 2022, Tobi Amusan from Nigeria would destroy Kendra's record twice in one day. In the semi-finals at the World Athletics Championships, Tobi powered ahead of all the other runners and smashed through the women's record, setting a time of 12.12 and obliterating Kendra's world record of 12.20. But this race had its own bit of controversy. In the same race that Tobi ran her world record, 5 of the 8 runners also ran personal bests. Some commentators in the space shared concerns that the wind speed wasn't accounted for correctly, or that there were some accuracy issues with the race clock. There were even experts speculating that Tobi's Adidas shoes somehow gave her an unfair advantage, despite the shoes being perfectly race legal and unmodified. These concerns became even louder when, in the finals on the same day, Tobi rocketed to the finish line and smashed the record once more, running a 12.06.
Look at the clock! I cannot believe it!
A full 0.14 seconds faster than the world record, which stood just one day earlier. After reviewing the wind reading, Tobi's second time was judged not to be world record legal, but her first time?
That is a massive, massive world record. She's looking at the clock to see if it was a mistake, but it wasn't. It's been confirmed.
There were no errors with the clock, no unaccounted for wind speeds, and no magic shoes. The conditions were perfect that day, and Tobi really was just that fast. But it doesn't matter how fast you are. If you trip over a hurdle and faceplant on the ground, there's no coming back from that, unless you're Abigail Dennis. Abigail had made it to the finals of the county championships in New Jersey, and she had qualified with the second fastest time out of all the competitors. She knew she had a chance at winning, but it wasn't going to be easy. She lined up, the starter pistol fired, and she launched herself off the starting line. However, disaster struck as she stumbled on the first hurdle and then completely tumbled over the second. Most runners would give up at that point, just stand up and walk back to their coach with embarrassment. But that's not what Abigail did. She picked herself up and set off back down the track, getting a stride back and powering over the hurdles on a mission. Her parents cheered her on as she clawed her way back to the front, eventually crossing the finish line in first place.